Good morning, students. I'm Miss M. Merline from the PG and Research Department of English, Holy Cross College, Trichy. In today's session, we are going to see the short story, How I Taught My Grandmother to Read, written by Sudha Murthy. Before delving into the short story, we will see the objectives of this session. The learner remembers the main characters in the story, understands the importance of education through the characters, analyzes the determination of the protagonist in the story. How I Taught My Grandmother to Read is a short story written by Sudha Murthy. Sudha Murthy was born on 19th August 1950. She is a social worker, a writer in Kannada and English language. She is an Indian educator, an author, and a philanthropist. She is the chairperson of the Infosys Foundation. She is married to the co-founder Infosys, Mr. Narayana Murthy, and she is a children's writer too. Her prominent works are How I Taught My Grandmother to Read, Dollar Babu, and Mahashweta. Some of her notable awards are Sudha Murthy was awarded the Padma Bhushan Award from the Government of India in the year 2006, and she received R.K. Narayanan's Award for Literature in 2006, Dana Chintamani Attimabai Award by Karnataka Government in 2010. She was awarded the Padma Bhushan and Sahitya Academy Bal Sahitya Puraskar in 2023. About her works, Murthy is best known for her philanthropy and her contribution to literature in Kannada and English languages. Dollar Bahu is a novel written by Sudha Murthy in Kannada and later translated into English and was adapted as a television serial. Sudha Murthy has written and published numerous works in Kannada as well as in English languages. She has written novels, non-fiction, travelogues, and memoirs. Her books have been translated into major Indian languages, and she is also a columnist in the newspapers of Kannada and English language. The main characters in the story are the narrator and the writer of the story, Ms. Sudha Murthy, and her grandmother, Krishtaka. Now we are going to see the plot of the story. Sudha Murthy was living with her grandparents in North Karnataka. The village did not have a good transport system, which made the morning newspaper to arrive only in the afternoon and the weekly magazine to arrive a day later. At that time, Triveni was a popular writer in Kannada language. Her stories were complex and interesting. Her writing style was lucid and very convincing. Her stories dealt with psychological problems which happened in the life of common people. One of her novels, Kashi Yatre, was appearing as a serial in a weekly magazine in a Kannada magazine. The novel portrays the story of an old lady and her ardent desire to go to Kashi or Varanasi, which she considered as an ultimate punya. The novel also focuses on an orphan girl who falls in love but doesn't have enough money for her marriage. In the end of the novel, the old lady donates all her money to the orphan girl as she thought the happiness of this orphan girl is more important to her than worshipping Lord Vishweshwara at Kashi. Sudha Murthy's grandmother was an illiterate person, and so she was unable to read the magazine Karmavira. Sudha helped her by reading it out to her. After hearing the story, her grandmother used to have a discussion with her friends in the temple courtyard. Once, when Sudha went for a wedding with her cousins to a neighboring village, her grandmother found it very difficult to read the magazine Karmavira, and she felt very helpless and dependent upon someone. And so, she made it a point to learn Kannada alphabets from the very next day after Sudha's arrival. Her grandmother kept Saraswati Puja Day during the Dasara as the deadline for her task to be accomplished. The determination of her grandmother. From the next day onwards, Sudha started to teach her grandmother the Kannada alphabets. She found that her grandmother was a wonderful student. She did a lot of homework in order to attain perfection. Krishtaka practiced reading, writing, and reciting in her process of learning. In a very short span of time, Krishtaka was able to read and Sudha was able to teach her. Sudha became her grandmother's only teacher and Krishtaka her first student. The Dasara festival came as usual when Krishtaka offered Sudha a frock material and touched her feet. Sudha was flabbergasted by her grandmother's gesture and said that elders never touched the feet of youngsters. Her grandmother responded that, "I'm touching the feet of my teacher and not my granddaughter." Sudha Murthy returned the namaskara to her grandmother by touching her feet and presented her the novel Kashi Yatre, which she had brought it secretly. The grandmother opened the book and read the first page without any hesitation. Sudha realized that learning doesn't have any limitations. It's open to all and anyone can acquire it at any time. Conclusion: The narrator succeeds in her efforts to make her grandmother read and also make her accomplish her task, which eventually steers the grandmother to lead an independent life. The short story, How I Taught My Grandmother to Read, also inspires the readers to have a strong determination in order to achieve their goals. Frequently asked questions. Why did Krishtaka wanted to learn the Kannada language? Why did Krishtaka relate herself to the main protagonist in the story Kashi Yatre? What made Triveni a popular writer? Why did Krishtaka touch the feet of the narrator in the story? Thank you.